Yes, so even you going through the struggle need to love, or you should love.
Oh, you mean?
So you can find people that because they're going through their struggle or going through their issues, they don't have capacity to love, or that's what they say.
Right. So, welcome to this episode, and I'm super excited. I'm doing the episode with my wife. My wife is Vona. We've been married for 12 plus years, and she's absolutely amazing. She's great. I wouldn't be the person I am today without my wife. And so in this episode, we're going to be talking about loving through the struggle. I started this season by talking about progressing in spite of your struggles. I mean, said struggles were private struggles as well as public struggles. And so I think a key element of progressing in spite of your struggle is love. And I think I couldn't think of a better person to be talking about loving through the struggle than my wife. Savona, when we say loving through the struggle, what does that statement mean to you?
What it means to me is that love doesn't stop.
Okay.
So we all go through struggles.
Absolutely.
Most people. I think everyone, but let's just say most. And struggles is different for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. Everybody's struggle is different. But in spite of that, we have to keep loving.
Right.
It's what sustains. It's what
Yes.
supports.
Yes.
It's looking for another ass, can't find another.
What
Shields,
strengthens?
It strengthens. It shields you.
Yeah.
So loving through the struggle is, in spite of that up and down that life brings, it's important to keep loving.
Yes. And it's important to keep loving yourself, and it's important to keep loving others. Because I think there are two aspects to loving through the struggle. I think there's the aspect of loving yourself, like I said, and I think there's the aspect of loving others through their struggle. So, and even in that aspect of loving people through the struggle, there is their struggle. So it doesn't actually necessarily affect you, but you're close to the person, and you love them, and you're supporting them through it. And then there is loving through our struggle, where it might be a struggle that somebody is going through, but it affects you directly.
Yeah.
Any other aspects you can think about when it comes to loving through the struggle?
Yes, so even you going through the struggle need to love, or you should love.
Oh, you mean?
So you can find people that because they're going through their struggle or going through their issues, they don't have capacity to love, or that's what they say.
Right.
And I feel like there's an angle to that. Yeah, you should keep loving even through your struggle.
Yes.
It shouldn't be damn the people around me, or I am. There's a time. There's a place for taking yourself out of situations and self-care and all of that, and self-love.
Yes.
But I feel like the fact that you're going through stuff is not an excuse to stop loving the people around you. So you find like spouses, siblings, can be like, I'm going through too much. I just can't give. I get that to an extent, but I feel like you shouldn't stop love.
That's a good one. I kind of feel like you have somebody in mind as you're saying that. But
I wasn't shooting any arrows. I was just talking.
We'll continue. So I'm going to ask you a question, because I think one of the talking about this practically, we can talk about some of our struggles. And so here I am. I've just been through a very difficult season where I lost everything. I was broke. I lost the job. I was trying to do business. That didn't work out. And then just before we get married, I get a job in a global investment bank. And it's like, wow, amazing. The wilderness is over, and a great opportunity just before we get married. We walk down, we tie the knot. We come back from our honeymoon, and literally the day after I go to work, and they give me the bad news that this is it. We kind of hired somebody else, and you had a contract role, and blah, blah, blah. And so luckily I get a job in a charity, and that meant like a more or less a 60% plus pay cut. And so the financial struggle begins. And I've actually heard through various research pieces that financial struggle is probably one of the main struggles that breaks marriages and one of some of the difficult struggles that married people have to go through, or anybody, quite frankly. But in our case, we are married. And so I'm curious. We're talking about loving through the struggle. I guess this is loving me or us or yourself and me through our struggle. First question though, what was your biggest fear when that reality hit that we've come back from honeymoon and this beautiful banking job is gone, and then the job in the charity is 60% plus pay cut?
My biggest fear was unique to you. And I say it was unique to you because you had gone through the journey of having left investment banking.
Yes.
And moved into HR.
Yeah, exactly.
Diversity, all of that.
And that was still paying very well.
Yeah, so that was paying well. But you were clearly finding yourself in terms of purpose, in terms of what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
It was no longer investment banking and it was HR, but it was looking like when you left and then you lost your job, it was looking like, okay, it wasn't quite HR. And you were then working for this charity. So it was like, okay. My fear was, it wasn't clear at that point what it was that you wanted to do. We knew your strengths. They were very clear. We knew that you were diligent. We knew that you were ambitious. So it wasn't like you weren't a lazy person. You wanted to do well. You wanted to be successful.
Yes.
You were very ambitious. But the fear was that I'm not quite sure what he wants to do. I'm not quite sure what he wants to do is out there.
Right.
So
we
didn't know about coaching then.
Yes, it's true.
It was very much traditional careers. It wasn't like now where you can more or less do anything and make money from it.
Yes, true.
Then it was, you're an accountant, you're a lawyer, you are this, you are a doctor, and that's how you make money.
Yeah.
So you were leaving banking, and the things that you were describing now, we knew it was coaching, leadership development, training, speaking, everything that you do now.
Yeah.
But then we didn't quite know what it looked like. There was nobody around us that looked like you. So
there was so I guess when it comes to loving through the struggle, one key point you're highlighting is uncertainty.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
That is uncertainty, is that you actually don't know for sure how things are going to work out. There's no guarantee that this is actually going to work. There were no guarantees, and you still have to love through those realities.
Yep. Love and support. Yeah. Exactly.
And so, what were I have two key questions. What were the difficulties in loving me, I guess, through our struggle? Because it became your struggle. It didn't matter whether or not it was me making these decisions, but it was now our struggle. We're married.
So there were quite a number of difficulties. I'm the sort of person that loves fiercely. So my ability to love was not in question. My ability to love deeply and fiercely was not in question.
Yeah.
But the difficulty was you. Okay.
Let's go there. Let me
break it down.
Break it down, because we live with real people.
In a short time, it was like there were times where you were mean, outright mean.
Wow.
So I guess in trying to find yourself, sometimes you were impatient with how quickly or how slowly things were panning out.
Right.
And so sometimes you were frustrated.
Very frustrated.
Expressing that frustration, you express those frustrations by being snappy sometimes, being short.
Sarcastic even.
Sarcastic, yeah. And I'm like, I'm here supporting you, helping, not complaining. And I'm not expecting this type of behavior.
So I guess in that regard, when we talk about loving through the struggle, we'll talk about loving yourself later, but in helping people and loving them through their struggle or our struggle, it's the reality that they are struggling, you are trying to help and support them, even shield them, and they are still being mean.
Yes. Right? And they are reacting like you are their problem, whereas you said, I'm your support, I did your back.
This is it, yeah.
Kind of thing. So that was hard.
Wow, okay.
Another aspect of the difficulty was, let me give a practical example. So finances were affected. You had left banking, you started working for a charity. That meant like a 60 or 40%, I can't remember.
60% plus.
60% pay cut. So that's,
wow.
We're going in, I'm an accountant working for Big Four, you're a banker, and then, like you said, suddenly you're now working for a charity. And so that
and
affected.
there's nothing working for a charity, right?
Let's make that point.
It's
the
a good thing. We did that. We're even glad that job even came. But it was just our reality was this is how we started, and then now, based on what we were used to, 60% is a pay cut.
Exactly.
So the point is not about charity. It's just that was the path I was taking to find myself and find purpose.
And I love that you make that point. And I actually feel like you did a me.
Yeah, that's definitely you. That's actually.
To see, actually, no, there's nothing wrong with working for a charity. But
that's definitely a you thing. I guess it's who I've become one.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I agree. The point was really the pay cut and not who you were working for.
Yes.
But it meant that we had to like review our budgets and stuff, our family budget. So we had this weekly, a monthly budget. We'll set the budget at the end of the month. We'll go through it, and my husband can be painstakingly. What's the word? Can't find the word. But
I don't have attention to detail.
Pedantic. Apart from finance, our personal finances. And it will go through and say, in this area we said we're going to spend £100 here. Why did we spend 150? I'm like, but babes, I told you that this came up and I need to send 50 here. You're like, yeah, but we shouldn't have. But I told you when it happened.
I don't know, but we shouldn't have.
But then we shouldn't have. Like, no, there's a budget for a reason. A budget should be stuck to. And I was just like, oh my God. The reason why this budget is so tight is even the fact that you have had a pay cut.
Yes.
And you are still giving me grief. Over the budget.
I've had a pay cut, and I've gone to do an MSc.
Yes, that was costing us £15,000.
Yeah.
So you have a pay cut, and then you've added stress to this budget with your MSc, and you are still giving me grief over £50. I'm like, God, how am I in this situation?
Yeah,
that was difficult for me.
Yeah, I totally hear that. I think that these realities, right? Because oftentimes people can look at a couple, or they can look at a person and say, well, things. If people look at our marriage right now, they can say it's good and it's inspiring and there are good things there. But to get to this point, and we still have our struggles and our fights, of course. No marriage is perfect. But to get to this point, this is the journey we had to go through. It's almost like in anything in life, whether it is marriage, whether it is career, whether it is starting a business, health challenge, in anything, to get to the other side, you do have to love through it. Yes. You actually have to love through it, and without that, you kind of short circuit it, and they can be, you should change yourself, and eventually there could be a crash. It could be a complete failure. So sweetie, those are some difficulties, and we'll actually go back to that. But in terms of the how, though, the practicality of how did you love me through the struggle? And I guess yourself as well.
Good question. I want to say hope. We just got married. I was doe-eyed. I was in love with you.
You're still in love. I was in love. You're still. I'm hoping that you're still in love. Yeah.
I'm in love with you.
Thank you. That's very good.
Okay, yes. That's so funny. I'm still in love with you.
Yes. You can say it one more time, just for sure.
I am still in love with you.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, yeah, we had just gotten married. Very much in love. And so very hopeful. There's also the Christian. I'm a Christian. I believe in God. You have faith. You believe that all things are going to work together for our good.
Absolutely.
So I had that as my foundation.
True.
But practically, not that that's not practical, but adding to that, I would say that you take a step back, right? I always say I love fiercely. So you take a step back. You're like, so the times when I'm talking about the budget and you are giving me grief over £50, and I'm thinking about all the other ways that, all the other things that had changed. I did Wusa. I did my Wusa.
I just remember the particular image, and I'm sure you don't mind me sharing this. I don't even know what the fight was about. It could have been finances. But we're living on the ground floor, so to put it in context. We're living on the ground floor. We're having such a bad argument, and you opened the window and just walked out. Can you remember?
I remember.
You walked out, and you were wearing, I think,
my nightgown, I think.
You had like a nightgown and just like a blouse. It was indecent. Indecent exposure.
It was not indecent.
And you just literally walked out of, I can't be in this space anymore. I just have to get out of this person's place. So that's how bad some of the fights were. And you were still sort of, loving through.
Yes. Yes. So, Wusa. Where did we learn Wusa?
Is that Will Smith?
I
don't know, but there was, but
Is it Will Smith? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was Will Smith. So it's something about Wusa. I think it was.
So
I love Will Smith. So yeah.
Do that, and then you talk.
What is Wusa? What is that? What is that exactly?
Take a step back.
Because we want to be practical. Take a step back.
Yeah. So like the example you described, leaving the space because you're just like, okay, I just can't.
Yeah.
And then leaving the space, taking a step back, and then reminding yourself why you are here. Like I said, it was a season. You were trying to find purpose. It was clear that it wasn't banking. You were trying to find purpose, trying to find what it was that you wanted to do.
Yeah.
This man is not lazy. This man is working hard. He's diligent. So it's a season. So season is going to pass.
If I'm just to bring out a few things that you're saying. Number one is keep hope alive. Number two is take a step back. And that taking a step back is sometimes you might actually even be taking a step back from loving. Not like you are ending loving, but you just need some space.
Yeah.
Because you also need to wear your mask. It's talking about when the plane is going through turbulence, they say wear your mask first. And so loving through the struggle and loving somebody through the struggle, you have to make sure that you're wearing your own mask. And to do that, you need to take a step back, take space for yourself. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So those are two clear things that I wanted to just highlight from what you're saying.
So what else did I do? I've forgotten the question.
How you loved me through the struggle.
How I loved you through the struggle. So another thing actually, I just got out of my head. Yes, another thing actually is putting myself in your shoes. So
okay, that's a good one. What do you mean?
It's life, right? Like the fact that you came back and you found out that they said the contract is over. You didn't make that happen. It just happened. No, so that could have happened to me. How would I have wanted you to treat me if that happened to me?
Yes.
So and that's why you call me Miss Empathy, right?
This is true, and that's a gift you have. I mean, it's a gift.
So it's like, okay, he's frustrated, but I understand why he's frustrated. Yeah. Yes, he could react a bit better, but this is where we are at. So walking in your shoes, but also asking myself, how would I have wanted you to treat me if it was me?
Right. Yes. Yeah. I really like that, and I think we're just going to segue very quickly into one point I was going to bring up, which is comparison.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is we are going through this struggle, and a core part of that is because of the choices I have made to pursue purpose, right? We know that potentially in the long term things are going to be, and we've proven that, like in the long term things are good, right? Thanks be to God. But it also meant that because we grew up with friends who were in investment banking, KPMGs of the world and the like, consulting firms, and they had a certain level of spending power, which quite frankly, we didn't have anymore. How did you manage not comparing yourself for that or to people and going through that season? By the way, while you're thinking, the third point I was going to highlight from what you said was realizing that it's a season. Like this is not a permanent thing, and it goes to that point of not making a permanent decision in temporary emotions or temporary circumstances, temporary seasons. And I think that's a key element. Some people would give up on a dream, whatever that dream is. The dream could be business, the dream could be particular career, the dream could be marriage. They give up on a dream because things are so tough. The struggle is so tough right now. I cannot see past it, and I'm just going to call it quits. And we got there. When I say we got there, we had that option, but we didn't take it.
So two things, and I'm going to be very sincere. One is my initial response is not comparison. So
right, okay.
I try a lot not to compare.
Okay.
There are situations that will come up where you're like, you compare, but most times that's not something that I do. However, as you were speaking, I realized that actually I complain about the budget and how strict you were with the budget, but I know that one of the things that I did was I probably spent more than I should have spent.
You did.
So let's go back there. So yeah, because there were times where maybe I'm like, okay, maybe I want to go to a nice restaurant, and I'm like, actually, I shouldn't because of how things are.
Yes.
But I'm like, actually, but I'm working. I'm an accountant. Do you understand what I mean? So where you're like,
You said that a few times.
that I'm an accountant.
I'm working. I'm an accountant. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I should enjoy this life. I can't come and kill myself.
So I guess yes. So I guess I was like, okay, yes, we have constraints, but within those constraints, I was determined to enjoy myself.
Yes.
And when you think about it, so I wasn't comparing. I say I wasn't comparing, but to an extent, I wanted to kind of live the way I thought I should live as an accountant. Or I don't say as an accountant, like as somebody who was working.
Yes.
As like my friends were working. So if we were
Yes.
going for dinner, I wanted to be able to go for dinner and do those things. I wasn't doing stupid things like buying designers or anything. And not that that's stupid, but
Yes.
with the constraints that we had, I shouldn't have been buying designers.
Exactly.
So I wasn't doing that. But things like, just going for dinner, spending £50 here and there, I was just like, I feel like I've earned this.
Right.
So I wasn't comparing, but now I think about it, even that was me reacting
This is
to
true.
the situation.
This is true.
Like, at least let me enjoy myself by going to Waitrose.
Yes.
That was my own extent.
Going to Waitrose instead of, I don't know,
Yeah.
another supermarket.
Yeah. So.
And for those who are not in the UK, Waitrose is like an upmarket supermarket.
Yeah. So if
Yeah.
I'm being honest, there were ways that I kind of reacted.
Good.
Not comparing, but maybe it's a form of comparison, but I don't know.
Yeah. So this has been good, and I would say that if I was to summarize, because I know we're going to have this conversation, we're going to continue it. If I was to summarize, there are kind of a number of things that we highlighted. Number one is keep hope alive.
Yep.
And in keeping hope alive, I guess, is revisiting the dream, believing in yourself that this can this will change.
It will change.
Number
forever.
It's
not permanent.
It's not permanent, and that's number two, seasons, right? The seasons are. This is a season. This is you have to believe that, actually. This is a season. This is temporary, and we are going to get to the other side. Another one that we've discussed is putting yourself in the other person's shoes. I think it's empathy. What really, like when you said that, you thought, actually, yes. If you lost your job, how would you want to be treated? And appreciating how angry you would be. And obviously being a man, and the culture I come from, your wife earning more than you, it's not a bad thing, but it's just not how you were brought up, right? And that really messes with your confidence and your ego. And that was part of the issues I was dealing with. And probably in the next episode, we discuss that, sort of the things from my perspective and loving myself through the struggle. Was there any other key practical point we want to leave with the audience?
There's some things we read their heads, like when I realized that actually, even though I argued about the budgeting point, I knew that I was spending more because I felt like I deserved this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you summarize that? I don't know.
I think it's a key element around self-awareness, and I'm going to plug the next season coming up in a few weeks, because self-awareness is going to be a key thing that we're going to be talking about, and the formula for success. So, thank you, my beautiful, wonderful wife.
You're welcome. I feel like I did well.
You did awesome. You are a natural, and I want to just say, thank you for listening. If this has been helpful to you, please like it, share a comment, ask a question, and pay it forward. Share it with somebody else. Spread the love. And until next time, stay blessed.